Hi all you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Elaine, and today I'm going to be recapping Season 1 of Farming Life in Another World. Now, without any further ado, I'm going to jump into things with Episode 1. Hiraku Machio recounts the tale of the events that led to his being able to enjoy an idyllic life. After succumbing to a mysterious, terminal illness, Hiraku is offered a chance at a second life by God. Hiraku is promised a healthy body that won't fall ill and the opportunity to live life the way he wants to. Hiraku decides that he wants to enjoy a laid-back life filled with farming in a place not many people would travel. Hiraku's wish is granted, and he is reborn as a full-grown adult in another world. He finds himself in a forest, armed with an almighty farming tool which can magically transform into any tool he requires, and whose use won't tire him. Hiraku starts building the foundation of his new home by a large tree. Since he was unable to find a water source in his travels, he digs a well. Then he begins clearing the land around the large tree he found. When the hour grows late, he carves a shelter into the base of the tree. After building a toilet, he begins cultivating the land and considers what to grow. Eventually, he realizes he doesn't have any seeds or seedlings, and will have to make do with whatever can be found in the forest. The next morning, Hiraku finds sprouts growing in his fields, even though he didn't plant anything. To protect his fields from monsters, Hiraku builds a fence around his property. It is surrounded by a ditch. As Hiraku tends to his fields, he realizes his crops grow much faster than normal with the help of the almighty farming tool. As he waits for them to become ready for harvest, he builds himself a small hut. One day, he notices 2 injured dogs outside his fence. Hiraku invites them inside and feeds them. The next morning, Hiraku discovers that the female dog has successfully given birth to puppies. They decide to continue living with him, so Hiraku makes himself a new hut since they had taken over the original. Once the puppies gain the ability to walk, Hiraku harvests his first crop while the older dogs hunt for him and protect the property. He names the father Kuro and the mother Yuki. As his fields thrive, he realizes he'll need to build a storehouse. Elsewhere, a cloaked figure is chastised for wanting to cross the mountain. Episode 2. God realizes he's messed up again by sending Hiraku to start his new life in the Forest of Death. Since it would be against the rules for him to intervene at this point, God determines that the third time is gonna have to be the charm. As Hiraku's farm continues to thrive, he realizes he can grow whatever he envisions as he's using the almighty farming tool, and that his crops grow extremely quickly. As winter approaches, the dogs return with a friendly, giant black spider. It comes to live in the giant tree in exchange for producing warm clothes and various textiles for Hiraku. Hiraku names the spider Zabuton. Once winter arrives, Hiraku begins to feel extremely lonely. When spring arrives, the puppies head into the forest, returning a few days later with mates, and Zabuton reemerges from their tree and reveals that they've given birth to little spider babies. Hiraku is envious of their growing families as he sets about preparing to feed the newcomers. Zabuton sounds the alarm bell. Kuro leads Hiraku into the forest where he finds an injured young vampire seeking aid. When Hiraku approaches, she latches onto him, drinking his blood, allowing her to mature into adulthood in the blink of an eye. The dogs are not pleased. After the scuffle, the vampire is given more of Hiraku's blood to recover and led back to the farm. The vampire is amazed by the crops, some of which she doesn't recognize, like the tomatoes. She's amazed by all the new crops she discovers. After exploring the farm, the vampire introduces herself as Lucy. She's conducting research on medicinal plants. She came to the forest because she got into a fight with some nobles who were trying to steal her research. So she fled, but is being hunted by someone the nobles had sent after her. She's trying to lay low until things cool down. Worried that he'll never speak to anyone again should she leave, Hiraku invites Lu to stay with him forever. Lu agrees and they're engaged. They promise to get to know one another better as they're living with one another. Elsewhere, another woman asks about crossing the mountain. The man speaking to her tries to dissuade her. Episode 3. Zabuton sounds the alarm bell. Tia the angel has appeared. She's been searching for Lu. She's shocked when she discovers that Hiraku and Lu are married. Tia reveals that she's been hunting Lu because of the bounty on her head. It was created because of the damages Lu caused when she escaped from the clutches of the noble who imprisoned her, spurring Lu to reveal that she had been running from Tia when she happened across Hiraku and his farm. Eventually, Lu invites Tia to come live with them. After being shown around, Tia takes to life on the farm and comes to live with Hiraku and Lu. The dogs give birth to more puppies, so Hiraku expands the farm to accommodate them. Some of Zabuton's children leave the farm to find homes of their own, while others take up residence in the orchard. Since the farm needs needs additional hands, Tia sets out on her journey. Tia returns from her away mission with a group of high elves. They are the last of their village, the rest having been wiped out during a war. They've been searching for a home in which they could regrow. Hiraku agrees to let them stay. Hiraku and company begin by building a house for them. The high elves take to farm life pretty quickly and share the skills they've learned over the course of their long lives with the farm, like mining and blacksmithing. They begin making kitchenware for the farm. While speaking to Lu, Hiraku learns that the land the farm is on is under the Demon Lord's control. Hiraku wonders if the Demon Lord will have a problem with him building on his land. Since he didn't receive any help building the farm, Lu assures him there's nothing to worry about. Episode 4. Zabuton captures a queen bee and presents it to Hiraku, who makes a house for them near the orchard. Within days, the worker bees have built a nest. With the elves' help, Hiraku constructs a waterway, which connects the river he found to a reservoir he dug, providing the farm with access to more water and fish. The additional water allows Hiraku and company to build a rice paddy. Hiraku makes fish-filled rice balls for everyone with their first harvest. The girls enjoy them so much, Hiraku doesn't get any. Next, Hiraku constructs a bathhouse with the help of the elves. He builds a purification pool along the wastewater channel, filling it with slimes that cleanse the dirty water before it flows back into the river. Hiraku finally has a bath to enjoy, but struggles to relax while surrounded by the farm's female inhabitants. Soon after, the dogs lead 5 new elves to the farm. Hiraku and company decide to build the newcomers their own home and improve on Hiraku's old one, so there will be enough room for everyone. The elves express a desire to reproduce and repopulate their race, which makes Hiraku nervous since he's the only man on the farm. Kuro takes over the narration. He had a nomadic life that continued into his years with his mate. When they were defeated by a grappler bear, their lives took a turn for the worse, but Hiraku took them in. Kuro is grateful that he and his family were given a home, a place to thrive. Given the number of women in Hiraku's pack, Kuro has become convinced that his original assessment, that Hiraku was a weak human, is false and is concerned since his master hasn't yet realized he and his kind are the terrifying breed known as Inferno Wolves. Episode 5. Construction on Hiraku's new home is completed. It is far larger than the last one and includes features such as a main hall to be used as a gathering space, a dining room, a kitchen, and a cellar. He chooses to ignore the bolt-locked door, which hides a massive bed for 2. With the help of his almighty farming tool, Hiraku manages to grow crops that are highly sensitive to certain types of weather, such as the cold. After harvesting his first batch of spices, Hiraku makes curry with naan with Leah's help. It's a hit. Meanwhile, Tia and Lu try to develop a protective charm to ward off the wolves, whom they've discovered dislike the smell of cilantro. As winter approaches, the farm begins making preparations by stockpiling firewood and other supplies. Hiraku begins to feel as though he's not contributing enough since he can't use magic, but Lu reassures him. No one else was able to thrive in the Death Forest before. Eventually, winter arrives and the weather drives the farm's inhabitants indoors. To help keep everyone entertained, Hiraku creates various games for the group to enjoy, like Reversi and chess. It allows Tia and Lu to continue their rivalry in a non-destructive manner. Hiraku is surprised when he discovers the wolves have figured out how to play the games. Kuro even beats Lu at chess, and Hiraku at mahjong. Spring finally arrives, but before the group can plant anything, Zabuton sounds the alarm bell as a wyvern descends upon the farm. Episode 6. As he thinks about protecting everyone from the wyvern's attack, Hiraku's almighty farming tool transforms into a spear. He uses it to defeat the wyvern, keeping it from harming more than some of the crop fields. Both the Demon Lord's generals and King of Dragons are frightened when they hear of the wyvern's defeat. They are unsure how to handle whoever dwells in the Death Forest. Hiraku begins growing grapes, which he and company turn into wine. Meanwhile, God is being chewed out by his daughter, the goddess of agriculture, for sending Hiraku to the Forest of Death and giving him a replica of the Holy Lance Grime, which can drain a human's life force and kill them instantly. Hiraku has survived only because God graced him with both improved recovery speed and a healthy body. Zabuton and the wolves capture another vampire, Lu's younger sister, Flora. Hiraku finally learns that his dogs are Inferno Wolves that can breathe fire. Flora is also a researcher. She's fascinated by Hiraku's description of the microorganisms that allow for the fermentation process, which is used to make things like tofu. Soon after, Flora departs to prepare for her new life on the farm prior to moving in. She returns a month later with milk-bearing cows and her family's ogre maids. Feeling outnumbered, Tia departs. Later, she returns to the farm with 3 more angels and a tribe of lizard men. They come bearing chickens. The angels are given the task of patrolling the forest, while the lizard men are put in charge of all labor that requires strength outdoors. Leah invites the remaining elves who are wandering the forest to come live with them. There are no men. They all died during the human war. The elves all have plans to reproduce, and Hiraku seems a little concerned since he's the only eligible male around. As the farm continues to grow, Hiraku calls a meeting to give their village a name. The group settles on the Great Tree Village. The village throws a party to celebrate and unanimously decides that Hiraku is their mayor. Episode 7. A messenger, the demon general Bazil, arrives at the village. After presenting Hiraku with a gift, he explains that the demon lord is looking to discuss the status of the settlement. Assuming it has something to do with taxes or a request for relocation, Hiraku makes an offer. In exchange for allowing the settlement to remain, he will pay taxes in the form of 10% of their harvest, to be picked up just before winter. Bazil agrees. The girls inform Hiraku he did a great job. The tax rate is typically far higher, and they have just gained the demon lord's protection. Bazil admits to the other demon generals that he only accepted because he feared the denizens of the village, which included a pack of inferno wolves and an army of high elves. The king of the dragons, Drime, also pays the village a visit. They present Hiraku with a sword during their formal greeting. After their visit, Hiraku realizes they'll need to develop diplomatic relationships with those living outside the village and decides to build a guest house to house them during their stay. He also discusses how to treat visitors and unwelcome guests, so visitors would feel more comfortable on their way to the village. Garf, the leader of Howling Village's Beastmen, a group of hunters and miners, is the next to arrive with an entourage. They've come in search of new trade agreements. Hiraku agrees to trade their crops for the goods Howling Village produces, like silverware and glassworks. Drime agrees to help with the transport of goods between villages in exchange for wine. Hiraku is informed that 20 women from Howling Village want to come live on the farm. Hiraku agrees only if they send young men as well. Hiraku isn't too thrilled when he discovers the 3 young men that were sent are boys who will not be of marriageable age for several years. Episode 8. As the Beastmen acclimate, Hiraku realizes he's the only one who can't use magic. He defeats a grappler bear and bloody viper, who had been fighting outside the village and causing an earthquake, with the help of his almighty farming tool. Hiraku makes mayonnaise and miso with Flora. A group of dwarves, led by Donovan, visit the village. In exchange for wine, the dwarves provide distillation technology that allows the village to create new alcohols like corn whiskey. The dwarves wind up moving in and working as brewers. A party is thrown to welcome the newcomers. Hiraku is hoping the dwarves will be interested in some of the village women, but they are only interested in women with beards. Dragons appear in the village skies. Hiraku nearly kills one of them until he's stopped by Drime's attendant, who reveals they're Drime's wife, Graffaloon, and daughter, Lastismoon. They were wondering where Drime was always sneaking off to. The dragon lords realize that the village could pose a threat, and Lasty is asked by her mother to remain in the village to ensure diplomatic relationships between the village and the dragons. Eventually, Lasty is put in charge of handling diplomatic relations. Bezel is startled to find this when he comes to trade for fruit. Frightened by what he's seen, Bezel sends his daughter, Flowrem, to spy on the village. She is shocked when she learns that the village's might is sufficient to challenge the demon army, and that Hiraku is so strong. He nearly killed Graffaloon. Flowrem decides to stay in the village longer than planned, despite being uneasy around Hiraku for quite some time. Episode 9. A slime is acquitted after drinking an entire barrel of wine. Fall arrives. While enjoying some hot pot, Hiraku realizes he misses seafood. Lasty and Flowrem return with Michael, a merchant from Chishado, a city in the demonic kingdom. They arrange for the trade of marine products and name Michael the official government purveyor for the village. He will handle all trade between the village and the outside world. The village is happy with the seafood that is being brought in. A dragon arrives at the village and challenges Hiraku to a fight. After defeating her, Hiraku learns that the dragon is named Hakuren, and she's Drime's rather immature older sister. Hakuren believed that Lasty was being offered to Hiraku for marriage and wanted to see what he was like. Hakuren is also jealous of Lasty since she's single. Hiraku isn't thrilled and forces Hakuren to clean up after herself. Bezel and the other generals learn that Hakuren is staying in the village. Meanwhile, the demon lord is concerned about his daughter, Yuri's behavior. He fears she may be going through her rebellious phase. General Rondon finally resigns after having threatened to do so several times throughout the season. Hakuren comes to live in the village. She's lazy and hard to place. Eventually, however, she becomes the village's school teacher. Some Lamia arrive at the village, revealing that they were forced to flee after the younger Inferno wolves and spiders raided their home. They decide to trade the gems the Lamia mined and other treasures for crops, as long as the Lamia put on clothes during their visits. Eventually, the Lamia become a delivery service and carry the village's trading goods on their behalf. Yuri is convinced that Flowrem is a prisoner and decides to attack the village and rescue her. Episode 10. Flowrem's father informs her that Yuri is planning to take military action against the village, because of the half-truths fed to her by a trio of simple-minded nobility, Rosalind, Raju, and Klakase. To keep the demonic kingdom from ruin, Flowrum secretly arranges for the defeat of Yuri's army by the Lamia. The idiots are forcefully moved into the village by Flowrum to atone, although their attempt at destroying the village is kept secret from Hiraku. The noble idiots try to escape, but their plans are consistently foiled by the infernal wolves and demon spiders. Eventually, the girls accept their fate as Flowrum's assistants and help her complete the paperwork that flows through the town hall. After learning the truth about the village, Yuri regrets trying to destroy it and decides to return home. The other demon girls decide to stay, however, to continue to repay everyone's kindness. The Demon King is confused by his daughter's abrupt change in character and determines she must have a boyfriend. A group of mountain elves, led by Ya, move into the village. They use their scales to help Hiraku produce pottery. The men's bathhouse is completed. The demonic nobles try to sneak in to get closer to Hiraku and are foiled by Flowrum. Ya finds the entrance to a dungeon in the north, which contains a blood viper. The elves want to hunt it down, since its meat is said to increase the chance of one becoming pregnant. When winter arrives, Lou grows ill and is bedridden. Tia and Sina suspect she's pregnant. Episode 11. As Lou's pregnancy progresses, Hiraku continues about his routine ensuring that the village is running smoothly. Eventually, the vampire progenitor, Vargreif, arrives at the village. He's Flora and Lou's 4,000-year-old grandfather. Vargreif was surprised by the news of Lou's pregnancy, since vampires usually continue their bloodlines by forming new blood packs. Vargreif reveals that his trick to a long life is to occasionally erase his memories. He expresses how he was impressed by Hiraku's statue of the creator. Vargreif had met God once before, when he was born. Since he can't have the village's statue, Hiraku carves him a new one. After departing, the progenitor donates the statue to a temple where an old friend of his works, earning the village the protection of the temple network. The progenitor sends the village a beautiful grand piano as a gift for Lou's pregnancy. The silly demonic noble girls are too frightened to try playing it, so they ask Hiraku for a second piano to practice on. A practice piano is procured. Hiraku has regrets since those practicing keep him up at night. Episode 12. The village decides to give up alcohol in solidarity with Lou for the remainder of her pregnancy. They also begin showering her with gifts to help her through the pregnancy and with her newborn. Hiraku grows uneasy during the final stages of Lou's pregnancy, when he's kicked out of the house. So he wanders around until his son, Alfred, a half-vampire, is born. Hiraku is excited to be a new father. Hiraku gives 3 reward medals out to everyone for their help creating the village. They're intended to function like money. There's some difficulty determining how much a single medal is worth. A feast is thrown to celebrate Alfred's birth. Consumption of alcohol resumes and the village rejoices. Hiraku, Lou, and Donovan save some of the wine the doors made to celebrate so they can drink it with Alfred when he is of age. The demon generals determine that the Great Tree Village is too powerful to fight, so they have to maintain good relations with it. They talk about marrying someone off to solidify ties, and the demon lord throws a fit because he assumes they mean to marry off his daughter. Hiraku gets word that over 100 people want to move to the village. He and his council decide to build a new village to house them all, the Great Tree Village 2. And that concludes my recap of Season 1 of Farming Life in Another World. What did you think of my recap? Did I leave anything out? Let me know down below in the comments. I always like to know what you lovely kings, queens, and in-betweens think. And if you like what you saw here today, please smash that like button until it's blue, subscribe, ring that bell so you'll always know what's up, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye guys!